Hello, neighbor. My name is Robert J. Ray. I'm a professional counselor, therapist, and trainer of trainers. I worked in a mental health prison for 11 years. I have fixed a lot of broken men and women in my 45 years as a counseling therapist. I was born in Maria, Mississippi, and graduated from the famous T.J. Harris High School in 1963. T.J. Harris played Brinkley and Jim Hill in football and basketball every year before that stumbling block of integration dissembled the black race. I ran for mayor of Meridian in 2021. I ran for governor of Mississippi in 2019. I'm Robert J. Ray, the man with all of the answers, every Monday at 4 p.m. Watch me on WeBelieve.global. Hello, neighbor. This is the Robert J. Ray Show. Welcome. And I'm the man with all of the answers. Now, today, this program is going to blow your mind because we're talking about the Black and White Race Rationale, which is my book. You'll see it first up there. We're going to look and see what is wrong with the black brain according to what is wrong with the white brain. Now, a lot of individuals don't know what the word rational means. I think I was almost an adult before I even heard any black men use the word rational. And that's if they use it. What do you think rationale is? I know a lot of you grew up with people in your family that was rational, but did you know what the word really means and what the significance of it is? Well, I'm going to tell you what it is, because like I say, I got all of the answers. What rationale mean is that you know the genuine truth when you hear it and when you see it. I can be anywhere and I can hear people talking on the television, I can hear people talking in their own little groups, and I can tell whether they're telling the genuine truth or not. Some of them are apparent truths, and a lot of people try to live their life on apparent truths, but then they end up failing. Now, I'm going to contrast the black brain with the white brain, and we're going to look at who has a rationale and who doesn't, and who have the irrationale. Because this here is the reason that so many black people fail in life, is because they don't understand what rationale is, and they don't use it because they don't have it. The white people, they have it because it's been handed down, and we're going to talk about that as we go along in the book. I'm going to read some of the preface in my book, and then y'all can follow along with me. The black American race is not a genuine race. I project many people will say that this is a false statement, but listen. Some examples of a genuine race are the Chinese, Norwegian, Japanese, German, and the Africans. Africans is a genuine true race. The reason that these are genuine races is because in the beginning they were created by God, each with their own genius, their own language, and their own way of life handed down by their ancestry. Your great-grandfather handed down the intelligence and the reasoning and their culture down to the grandfather. The grandfather handed it down to your father, and now it's supposed to be handed down to you. That's the way it's supposed to go. But now let's take a look at the black American race. Now let's look at who created them. When the whites brought the Africans to this country to work as slaves, they were indeed a race created by God, with all of the characteristics of the races I mentioned above. Immediately, the American white race began to deliberately and systematically eliminate and push all of the African genius, African language, African culture from the center of the being to the circumference. That is, they pushed it out. This made sure that after 100, 200 years, there would not be anything of the African left in this race of people. Now, if you add the Willie Lynch syndrome in there, who was the first slave consultant, and he came over to teach the white slave owners how to control their slaves, then you can see as in a noonday light that the black American race was created by the white American race. And you know what happened when the white race tried to create another race, don't you? Remember Frankenstein? Dr. Frankenstein created the Frankenstein, and he did it, and he shocked him, electricity came out, but he turned into a monster. He was a monster because he had an abnormal brain, so to speak. And white people, you can't create it. So it's almost like you created a monster when you created the Black American race. I know that's going to get a lot of people into their feelings, but this is the genuine truth of it. Just think about it. Why the black race behave the way they do, and who put all of that stuff in them. Now, we're going to talk about why is that black brain different from that white brain. And we're going to talk about the natural, the rational, and the spiritual degrees of the brain. And that's what we're talking about. Every brain has 3 levels to it. It's just like a house. If you go in a house, you go in the first level of the house. And you could go in there, and it can be black and white people in there, and they can be fraternizing, and they can be doing things. And you can say, hey, this is all right in this area, part of the brain. Because that's where you get a chance to see all of the smells and hear all of the sounds and touch things and feel things. And you say, well, that's good. But then you see some other white people going upstairs. And they're going upstairs, and you hear them upstairs, and they sound like they're having such a wonderful time. But you can't go upstairs. And when they come downstairs, they're smiling, and they look peaceful and tranquil, and they might have diamond and gold on, and might have a handful of money in this hand and stuff like this. But the black race, they not permitted to go upstairs. They don't know what's going on up there. But they know that it seems like the white people are having an awful good time up there. So why can't they go up there? This is the way that the brain is. And if you don't ever develop a way to get up to the second floor, then you're going to always be down here on the first floor. You're going to be always in your 5 senses on things. And that's what you do. And then when you are just living with just 5 senses, just your smell, your touch, your sight, and your hearing, then that's going to get very, very boring as you go through life. And you're really not going to be happy when you do this. Now, I will describe the Black American rationale by contrasting it with the American rationale. And all the other races will be between those. Now, when I know you probably seen the movie Roots, and when this movie came out, one of the first scenes they had in there was when they brought Kunta Kinte, and they asked him, say, what is your name? And he said, it's Kunta Kinte. And they said, no, your name is Toby. And he said, no, my name is Kunta Kinte. They hung him up by his arms like this and took off his shirt, and they started whipping him every time they asked him a question. And he would say, Kunta Kinte, and they would hit him again with the 9-tail whip, and he would say, Kunta Kinte. But by the by, he was in so much pain and agony, and he probably figured out, say, well, if I don't say my name is Toby, they're going to beat me to death. And that's what happened. When he said, my name is Toby, that's when the whole African race began to change here in America. Because not only was Kunta Kinte's name going to be changed, then his religion was going to be changed, his culture, everything that he brought over from Africa was going to be changed. And that's exactly what happened to the African race when they came over here. So after about 200 years, then he was Toby. He wasn't anymore. He didn't have anything of Africa left in him. So now what race is he now? And this is what happened to all of the 30 million of black Africans that came over here. All of that stuff that they brought with them was forced out of them, and they became the Black American race, which is not a genuine race of people. They were created by the white race. And remember, when you first came over to this country, people asked me, say, well, Mr. Ray, why did you name your other book the niggers' Holy Bible. Well, just let's look at it. What was the black race called when they came over here? They was called Sambo. They was called darkies. They was called pickaninnies. They was called colored people. And they were called Negroes. And all of these different names that white people had for the African race when they came over here. But what name always stuck was the nigger. And if you want to get to the black people, you have to use that word. And that's why I use it in my book, The Nigger's Holy Bible. Because if you listen to any rap songs today, you don't hear anybody talking about colored people, Negroes, or Sambos, or jungle bunnies. You don't hear that. But you do hear the word nigger. So that's what the label that your creators put on you and hung on you. And your creators was the white race because they're the one that made you docile, they made you stupid, and they also made you childlike. And they made you obedient to the whip. They would whip you and you would do what they say they were going to do. And that's just like any kid. If you whip him, he would be obedient. And that's what the white race did to the African race. They made them docile. A lot of intellectual individuals that studied behavior, they wondered why did the African race lay down and bow down to the white race, what they was doing to them. They made them docile. They made them childlike. They didn't know anything. Now, I remember looking at watching Gone with the Wind, and they had a lot of blacks in that, and they was childlike. Even the men, they would act like little children around white people. And they had one particular one in there named Prissy. And she was just the poster child for docile and childlike behavior. And she had that little squeaky voice and everything. And I always wondered, I said, now why would she play a part like that? I mean, you're a grown lady. But see, this is how they made the blacks. They made the Africans behave like this. And this is why a lot of them today have that same mentality, have that same docile behavior patterns that they use. But we're gonna deal into this. I'm gonna read some out of the Black and White Race Rationale, and we're gonna see what you think about it as I read. Now let me share this with you. Every race of people have their own particular kind of genius, even from God, which is handed down through their heredity. Everybody is handed down stuff from their parents through hereditary. Now, you look at the white brain. What was handed down to this white brain? In 300 years, just think about where all of these white kids was going. They was learning the ABCs. They was learning their numbers. They was learning the sciences. They was going to finishing high school. They was going to college. They was finishing college and going out and performing uses. The white brain was. Now, let's look at what the black brain was doing. The black brain was out in the field. They was out picking cotton. You couldn't read, and you couldn't even think about reading anything, or counting anything. You had to do work for the master. All your whole life was concerned about doing what these white people wanted you to do. That's all. You didn't need to know anything. You didn't need to know any ABCs or reading. Matter of fact, you would get really whipped if they even saw you looking at a book, so to speak. So after 200 or 300 years of not having anything put on your brain, and the white race did this to you. They're the one that created all of these things inside you. For 300 years, you were not permitted to learn anything but hard work, slavery work, so that you could make life better for your white masters. And this is what happened with the black and white race rationale, or either I can say the white and black brain. So we're going to see what happened here. How did the black people get to the point where they are today? And we got some real geniuses, black people today. But as a race, no, we don't have that. As a race, we are way behind the white brain. And this is what we're going to be discussing today about what happened to the black brain and the black brain. Hey, if you would like a book, a counseling session, please visit theorganismchapter4.com. All of my books can be purchased on Amazon. The black American race is the only race in the USA who do not have connate rational minds to pass down to their offspring, which means the black baby boys being born today will not have their precious gem to compete with all the other races for their piece of the American dream. Why is it that other races can enter the USA with little or nothing and in a few years have more than the black race? The reason, no rational mind. You have to have a rational mind to operate a business and make it pay. The Black and White Race Rationale by Robert J. Ray. Available on Amazon. Get your copy today. All right, welcome back. We're going to continue to talk about and contrast the black brain with the white brain, the white race rationale with the black race rationale. Just think about it. 90% of the wealth in America is owned by just 1% of the population. And the black people, they didn't even know anything about money. They couldn't even own money now. But now they are able to get money. But they have such a hard time trying to get it because they have to work just like they did when they was really slaves in order to make that money. So what we're sharing is that what is the reason that black people live here in America? What is their rationale in living? Well, they want to have what the white people have. And they do this by the five senses. They see what the white people are buying, they see what they're wearing, and they see what they're using on their to smell good, the colognes and the perfumes and things like this, and they see the automobiles that they're buying, and they want to buy these things, and they want a nice home, and they want to buy, and a lot of them do buy these things, but when they look at how they're getting it and why they're getting it, they don't have the rationale to understand that. So what they're saying is that, hey, let's just try to keep up with the Joneses. And that's a keeping up with the Jones syndrome. And this is what black people do. They'll say, oh, the neighbor's got a new car. Well, we got to get us a new car. We can't let them outdo us. And this is the way they are with everything. And today, they are buying so much hair. And I see them buying hair, and I'm really anxious about that because it's not in the hair, people. What's the rationale in black people buying other people's hair? I mean, look at it. The white people look at you like that with their brain, and they say that there's something wrong with that race of people. Yeah, it's something wrong with it, but you're the one that did it to them. You're the one that caused them to do it. You said that hair was important. And they think hair is important when it's not worth anything. The hair doesn't do any thinking. The hair doesn't get you a good paying job. The hair doesn't make you successful. No, it's what's inside your head. When I was working out there at the adolescent center out there with all these guys that wanted to have their hair shaped and have it in a certain way, and they wanted to have it looking good and pretty. And I would say, well, what good is your hair if you can't even get a job enough to get it cut and fixed? It's what's inside your head is what matters. But the black race, they don't have the rationale to understand that buying hair really makes them look bad in life and as Americans. And the white Americans, they can kind of go along with it because they want to have good hair too. But when you have other races like Indians that shave their head off and send their hair over here to be sold, they don't get it. You know, you mean to tell me I can sell my hair? And that's what they do. They cut it off, they send it over here, they get it together and put it in the stores, and these Indian or these foreign people, they sell it to black race. They sell it to the black race. What's the rationale in you black people buying hair? I mean, it's okay to want to be groomed and want to have your hair looking nice and neat, because back when they didn't have all this, they had hot combs, and they would burn that hair and they would try to make it look straight and make it look pretty so that they would, be looked as being pretty and beautiful. But there's no rationale in it. I mean, I see a lot of black females now, they don't even have, they've shaved their head, either they have their hair short, and they haven't lost anything, not anything at all. They have just their natural beauty, and that's what they go with. So I'm going to read a little more out of the black and white race rationale and see what you think. What can I say about my black race, about these important issues? I could share that the individuals in my society do not worry about the hellish disease that plague America man today. For this simple reason, we eat healthy, nutritious food, raw fruit and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and vegetables and minerals, and that gives the soul a superior form when you do this. This is just the fact, people, that America the blacks do not eat what they should eat. They eat whatever the white race put out there for them, because in creating this black race, they know what food that this black race need. Not what they need, but what they want and what they will buy and what they will eat. And they put all of this stuff out here. And sure enough, the black race, they go down there and they buy it. It's fast food, and they just blow them up. They become obese. They become sickly. They get diseases. They get all of these things. And they don't know why. And then they go to the doctor. They go to a white doctor who's part of the problem, and they expect this white doctor to care whether they are healthy or not. Can you get to this? And yeah, they go to the white doctor, and all the white doctor is going to use up your insurance and going to treat you until you die. He's going to make as much money off of you as you die. Because you don't have enough rationale to understand that you should be trying to take care of your own self. You shouldn't eat, you and your family shouldn't eat everything that these white corporations put out there for you to eat. A lot of the white people don't eat it. They eat, that's like I named that, nutritious food. They eat that. So why should you just eat whatever they put out there to you? It's because of your black brain. You hadn't moved up into upstairs, the upper rationale in your part of your brain. You've got to do this, people. And that's why my book, The Black and White Rationale and the Solution to the Race Problem, I show people how to become rational. My mentor made me a rational man at age 28, 29 it was. Before then, I wasn't rational. I was going after every material things, and in which I got a lot of them, but it seemed like there was always something missing. And when I became rational, I said, oh, that's what it was. The white race, they was willing to share all of this other stuff. After Lincoln freed the slaves, they was willing to do a little education, get a little land and stuff like that. But they didn't want to share that rationale with you, and they didn't share it. So that meant that they would always be over you. whatever you wanted to do, they could look down and either throw a stumbling block or either they could let you do it. That's the way they did it. Now, I want to talk about the black athletes and the white athletes. One is named Tyrone. You can guess who. And one is named John. Now, these two guys, they come up and they are healthy and they play sports and they are both good at it. Tyrone, he can run rings around anybody in the neighborhood. He can play football. He can play basketball. He can anything he decides. He can play baseball. He can do. So can John, the white athlete. So what's the difference in these two individuals? Well, I'm going to tell you. John's people, who happen to be the white brain and is rational, they're always letting John know, say, it's good that you can play sports and it's good that you're good at it. But the education is the thing you want to do. You want to finish high school. You want to be able to read well, and you want to be able to finish high school. And John, he got this and internalized this. So when he started playing sports and they got into high school, and here come Tyrone, nobody over in his family, in his clan, have any rationale. They're all forcing him and say, they all encouraging him to, hey, play the sports, be good at it. Because the pro sports, they make the money. And that's what he does. Tyrone goes on through to high school, junior high. He plays and he's a superstar there. Then he goes on to high school and he's running touchdowns and shooting that ball in the basket, and he's making a name for himself, and everybody's encouraging him, saying, hey, you're going to make the pros. You keep going on, you're going to make the pros. But nobody's encouraging Tyrone to learn how to read. They're not telling him, hey, get the English. Because if you get the pros, if you speak good English, and if you can express yourself, you could probably get some commercials and make more money. Nobody's telling Tyrone this. So all he's thinking about and fantasizing on is being good on the playing field. When he goes to the classroom, he's bored. He doesn't want to get lessons. He doesn't want to study. He doesn't want to learn how to read. What books have you read, Tyrone? He hadn't read a book. Hadn't read not even a little elementary school book. He hadn't read anything. Ask John what he's read. Oh, I've read Dick and Jane. I've read Catcher on the Rye. And so he's reading. He's becoming educated. He's becoming what you would call intelligent. Now, they both go through high school and they get a scholarship. Oh, wow, this is what we was thinking, hoping that Tyrone would get a scholarship to go to college. And John, he got his scholarship to go to college. But the information that each one of them was getting was different. The white brain was steady telling John, say, look, it's good that you got the scholarship to go to college, but make sure you study hard, make good grades, and get your degree. Nobody's telling Tyrone this. What they're telling Tyrone is, hey, get there and try to make that team, and you may go in the first or second round when you become a sophomore in college. So Tyrone is not looking to get good grades in college. He's looking to go to practice, run that football, make those touchdowns, and be spotted by an agent in the pro. And this is what he's looking for. Now, why wouldn't you tell Tyrone, look, even though you're good and you're in sports, get you a degree. Study hard and get you a degree. They both in college, they both playing on the team, and they both are doing real well out there on the field. And they're making a name for themselves. But John, he's studying hard. He's studying to get a degree. He's going to be something even when the football and the basketball runs out. even if he makes the pros, what's going to happen after football? So many like Tyrone, they quit college as a sophomore. They go early in the draft. Now, they get a bonus. They get that $1 million bonus or the $2 million bonus, and they go back home and they buy their mama a home and they start spending money and buy themselves all of the stuff that they want. And now you have an individual like Tyrone who still has a childlike mentality, no maturity because he didn't study. He didn't learn anything. He didn't become intelligent. All he did was he became rich, so to speak, by using his body, by using his athletic ability. John, on the other hand, he's not going as a sophomore. He's going to stay there till his senior year, and he's going to march across there and get his degree. So that when and he's going to be chosen by a pro team also, and he's going to play pro ball. He might not get as much money as Tyrone did, but Tyrone, he's just thinking about buying stuff now. I got money. I can do this. I can do that with it. I can buy my mama and them a house. I can buy myself a house and cars and things like this. But Tyrone didn't develop his mind. And when all of this is over and the bubble burst, then he gonna look around and say, what happened? Because the minute that Tyrone incurs a injury that will end his career, then he's not gonna be able to play any ball. Look, if you would like to book a counseling session, please visit theorganismchapter4.com. All of my books can be purchased on Amazon Books. We'll be right back. Y'all niggas was born into a faith-only religion. Baptist, Methodist, Holiness, or Catholic. But y'all have one thing in common, believing that faith only will save you. Y'all were taught to believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, and y'all bought into it without questioning whether it was genuinely true or not. Just because your parents introduced you into it, but don't blame them so much as the false preachers who preach this false Nicene Council 325 AD doctrine. The Nigger's Holy Bible by Robert J. Ray, available on Amazon. Get your copy today. Okay, neighbor, I was talking about Tyrone and John. Now, Tyrone has made the money, and he's got it made. He's got the money. He's got the bonuses. He's spending that money like a drunken sailor because that's what he has been fantasizing ever since he was in elementary school. But nobody told him, hey, Sturdy, get your degree. He never got up in his rational mind. Even though he's went to college for a couple of years, he still has an immature mentality, and he's spending money like that. So what's going to happen when he gets to the point, and he's going to be enjoying himself? He's going to probably be drinking and eating the best, and he's not going to be hungry for it as much as he did before he got it. So he's going to get flabby. He's going to get soft, and the other athletes that's coming up, they're going to bump him out of that job. They're going to bump him off of the first strings. He's going to be sitting on the bench. He's going to be rich, but he's going to be sitting on the bench. Now, when he starts to get cut from this team, or he may get an injury, then what's he going to do? Because they're not going to keep you on the payroll if you can't play. And most of them, and I've seen so many of them, they go to the football, pro football, then they get cut, then they back out. Then a lot of them even back home, staying with their mama. Not all of that money, all of the money is gone. Some of them didn't even pay their taxes. And now they got a big tax bill hanging over because they wasn't rational enough to pay their taxes. Nobody told them that this has to be. So Tyrone, although he made the money, he used his body to make the money, now He's back home in the neighborhood with his mama, and all he can say is, I was up there. I was up on top one time. Yeah. And now the bubble is burst. So what was it all about? But on the other hand, John, he made it to the pros. He got his degree, though. So whenever he decides on his own to stop playing football before his body and his brain get too messed up, he can go into using his degree. And he can go on and make money on and still live a rich lifestyle. But not Tyrone. Why is that? It's because of the black and white race rationale. The white brain, they value getting a degree. I don't care how good you are in sports. They value getting a degree. The blacks, on the other hand, with their mentality and childlike immaturity, they think money is the answer to everything. And that's what they go for. They go for the money. Okay, I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to read a little more out of the black and white race rationale. Listen to this. The black race is a phenomenal race, though. They still, with all of this baggage that they had, no rationale, and the way that they had been treated for 300 years, they still did some things. They still made it here in America. Okay, let's see what they did. What other race of females started out in this country having children, sold out from under them, and married to a black male who oftentimes had to wait and sustain his feelings while a white male used her black body to satisfy his lust? Have you ever seen this on the slave movies you seen? The white man, he'd come up there and tell Toby to go down to the barn and do something while he stayed up there and had sex with his wife. What race have been done like this? No other race have had this done to them like the black race have. And so this is what I'm sharing with you. With the black race, just because they don't have rationale, don't mean that they are a loser race or that they are a failure, because they show what they can do. Now, I'm going to look at the white supremacists and what they said. They said that whites are superior to blacks. Well, that's apparently true. You remember when I told you about genuine truth? That's apparently truth, that the whites are superior to the black race. When it comes to the books and the reading and the schooling, sure they are. Do you think you could find a black guy that could go head to head with this guy that's on what's the show? They have to answer the question, ask the question. I can't recall the show, but he's been on there for 33 wins, and he answered all of these hard questions, and he done won over $1 million on that, just being an intellectual, knowing all of this stuff. You probably couldn't get a black person nowhere in America that could go there and do anything like that, because they haven't been perfected like that. Now, when the white supremacists say that the whites are superior to blacks, like I said, this is apparently true. But what if the white supremacists was flying over across the ocean to a white supremacist meeting to discuss why they are superior, and they happen to crash down in the Amazon jungle, in the middle of the Amazon jungle? These is white supremacists now that said they are superior to the black race. Now, they'll crash down in here. They didn't get killed, but now they're sitting off in the middle of the jungle, Amazon jungle, don't know which way to go, don't know what insects will kill them if they bite, don't know what snakes is poisonous, don't know what animals out there could kill them. They don't know what all could happen to them out there. But here these little black pygmies are out there. They live over there. That's their environment. That's their element. They're in the element. So now if they can show these white supremacists how to lead them out of there and keep them alive and get them something to eat so they have the energy place to go, and keep them from getting eaten up by insects or other things out there, then I ask you, neighbor, who is the superior then? Would it be the white supremacists, or would it be the little black pygmies there? I would think that if you wanted to get out of the jungle, you would adhere to the little black pygmies who know how to do that. So it's not a matter of who has superiority over the race, because look, when Hitler was the leader over Germany and they had the Olympics there, he said that his white athletes was superior over the black athletes. But what about Jesse Owens? What did Jesse Owens show him? He threw it back in his face, didn't he? He said, no, you ain't got nobody over here can run faster than me. And he showed it. Hitler would be up in the stand, and his guy would take off, and Jesse would just run and leave him behind. So how could you say that the whites are superior to the blacks? In some things, they may appear to be superior. And these are just apparently true things. But what I'm sharing with you is that when it comes to the rationale that the blacks have, that they don't have, and that the white people have, this is what it's easier for them to make it in America. And this is what the blacks don't understand. They send their kids to school, and the little white kids, it's a piece of cake for them to study and get these things, because look what has been passed down to them from all of these years, 300 years. They have been able to, their daddies and granddaddies and great-granddaddies have been able to go to school, perfect their knowledge and wisdom and especially their rationale to pass down to these little kids. And it's an innate thing. It's innate. It's in them to have this rationale. And if they've got this innate ability to develop their rationale, and the black kids don't have that, they don't have that innate. They've got to learn it. It's got to be connate in them. It's got to be put there. And that's what my process does. That's what the solution in this book is, in the Black and White Rationale, is to be able to show you how your kids and your family can develop the rational thinking that the white kids have already passed down to them through their parents. So no wonder the white kids are way ahead of the black kids when they go to school. The black kids have to struggle to learn these things, algebra and to read, to be able to read on a third grade level. And this is what we've got to get together on. You think, why do whites and blacks have so much trouble being in relationship together? It's because the whites, they have rationale. And they look at what the blacks do and they say, why did he do that? Why would they want to do that to each other? Why would they go shoot in each other's houses like that? Why would they, diss each other like that in their music? Why would they call they female bitches and hoes? And why would they do that? And then they say, well, I don't want that kind of mentality around my family. So they pushed away from having you in their neighborhood. And you can understand it, can't you? You don't want your kids calling them bitches and hoes and calling them crackles and old fays and all of this. So your rationale say, well, we don't use that language. When we go into polite company, we don't want our children saying these things. We don't want them learning these things. But today, the rationale of the white kids is that they like this music that the blacks put out, this rap music that comes straight from hell. come straight from hell, and they sing it, and the white kids, they buy it, and they try to imitate it, but after a while, they get bored with it. So now they move on up, and they have their rational mind to move from, but these individuals that singing this music, they don't have any rationale to move up into. All they can do is they are down here in this area. They spread out this way, they spread out that way, but they don't go up into the rational mind. They buy these things, they experience these things down here. They go to the strip joints, the strip clubs, and they make it rain money. They throw money up in there. What's the rationale in this, people? When are these individuals going to learn that this money was given to them to perform uses with, to uplift their communities and their race of people and their families? But they don't understand this, and they can't do it. So what do? They just constantly buying stuff, constantly experiencing things, and a lot of them get on the drug thing. And once you get on the drugs, you're not going to be developing any rational part of your mind. You're not going to be moving up. You're going to be going further and further down into a deeper hell, so to speak. So what can we do to change this, people? What can we do to get the black and whites on the same page? And that's what we have to do, is pull our black kids up into another realm. They've got to be able to go upstairs where the whites are enjoying themselves, and you can see why they're enjoying themselves. It's not so much the material things up there, because they know that once the material things is all bought and you have them, then you want the more. And that more is what you learn when you're up in that high degree of thinking and reasoning that you're into. So this is what I'm trying to share with y'all today, that it is most relevant that you get the rationale that the white race did not put inside you. Hey, if you would like to book a counseling session, please visit theorganismchapter4.com. All my books can be purchased on Amazon Books. We'll be right back, people. Senator James Oliver Eastland, he headed up the U.S. Judiciary Department for many years, the highest judiciary committee of the United States of America. He was my guidance, my superior, protector, and mentor. He did show me how the slick communist Jews was coming into Mississippi and corrupting our blacks, who were only a few generations past being ignorant slaves. Slaves whom had been long supported with home, food, and upkeep until a war released them from so-called slavery into poverty, homelessness, and without assistance. We grew up together. Killer Killing by Larry Ellis. Available on Amazon. Get your copy today. Welcome back, neighbor. I must say something about the American diet again to make sure that y'all understand that you've got to eat better food. You must. I mean, in order to be healthy, you got to do it. You know, I've been eating healthy for about 40 years, and I don't have any health issues at all. And I don't plan to have any. And because I eat organic food and stuff. But there's one thing that I'm anxious about, and my son, he always pointed it out to me, is that why do you people don't floss your teeth. I floss every day. Been doing it for 20, 30 years. And that gets all of that rotten food out from between your teeth. And that does wonders for your breath. If you floss, you don't have any bad breath. You really don't. And my son lives up north. He says that I'm the only black person that he knows that floss their teeth. What's with that? I mean, you don't have to have rationale to know that you need to floss. I mean, your dentist will tell you that. But they don't. When I was working at the facility, I never seen anyone out there with floss. Any of the workers, they didn't give any to the little teenagers to floss with. I was the only one out there that had any that flossed their teeth. Now, this is really serious because that's why so many blacks lose their teeth before they get 50 years old. It's because if all of that food rottens down there, it has to have some effect on your gums level down there. And it begins to destroy the roots of your teeth down there. And the next thing you know, you got to have all your teeth pulled out. Your teeth should last you all of your life. I don't care if you live to be 100. You should start flossing, because if you don't, you're gonna lose your teeth, and that's gonna be sad. Then you can't eat the healthy food like I'm trying to get you to eat. Okay, before we go into the black politicians, I gotta touch on them because they're the ones that help keep the black race from becoming rational. The black politicians, they get into politics and they don't have any rationale. They can't do anything. They just in there making their salary and taking their money home because they let these white politicians pass the laws that's against their race, and they don't get up and fight for that. They don't get up and say, "Hey, wait, we're not gonna pass this law." Just like the law that they passed down in Mississippi. When I was in the prison system, I told the prisoners that they should never take a plea bargain. You should always fight your case, bring in witnesses, keep it going just as long as you possibly can to try to fight for your freedom. But they would be innocent, and the DA would charge them with some crime where they was innocent. But he would say, well, to keep everything from going on and save the taxpayers money, why don't you take a plea bargain? Instead of we giving you 20 years, we'll give you 10 years, and you can get out on good time in a few years. But I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. Yeah, but can you prove it? And then if they give you a court-appointed attorney, you're not going to be able to prove it. You're going to lose that case. So they started going to court. A lot of them started going to court once they found out that that's what I said to do. And so what did these rational white men do? They passed a law over there in front of all of these black politicians. And Mississippi is supposed to have the most black politicians in any state in the union. But they don't seem to be worth anything. So what did they do? They passed this law, the whites did. I forget the number, 1258. It doesn't matter what the number was. They passed this law that says if you go to court and you lose your case, you get life in prison. Can you imagine that? These white supremacists down here in Mississippi passed a law like that. And the black politicians, they let them pass that law. They should have been jumping up and down. They should have said, hey, we closing this whole facility down if y'all try to pass that law. We're not going with that. No, we're not going to have. You mean to tell me that your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness and the right to a speedy trial, if I go to trial and try to prove my innocence and I don't prove it, then I get life imprisonment. What other state has that besides Mississippi? And they let them pass that. They let them pass that law right on through. Now, politicians here in Mississippi, I know you way behind the white politicians, but at least you can look and see what they're doing. The white brain is really screwing you and your race of people. And the black brain, not being able to be up in the rational mind, they don't have anything to fight against it. So they say, well, the whites, they got more people than we got, and so we can't do anything about it. There's always something you could do if you had a rational mind. Take, for instance, the last election where I ran for governor in, and several other people ran for governor. But listen to this, neighbor. It's 600,000 black registered voters in Mississippi. And the one that won the governor, he got 459,000 votes. The Republican. The Democrat, he got 1,400 votes. Now, where was all of these 600,000 black people? Black people have been lynched, have been burned, have been murdered to try to get the vote. The 3 civil rights workers was murdered because they was trying to get people to vote, get the black vote. And if just 100,000 more of those people, black people, would have came out and voted for the Democrat, we'd have had a Democratic president. And we could have had a black president. If all 600,000 of them would have came out and voted for me, we would have had a black governor of Mississippi. So what was the rationale in those black voters not coming out to vote? You tell me, neighbor, and you tell me, why is it that the whites, with their rationale, is riding roughshod over all of the black people in Mississippi and really in the whole United States? Because it's just not the black people in Mississippi that don't have rationale. It's black people all over that doesn't have rationale. They didn't move up into the high degree of their mind. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, that's not true, that's not true. But yeah, just look at it. Just look at it. Just question your kids when they come home from school. Ask them, say, is it easy for the white kids to learn, you think, than it is for you to learn? Are they the smartest ones in the class? And the answer probably is going to be, yes, they are. And it's all because of the rationale, people. Now, let me just say something about the solution. In the back of the black and white race rationale, I have the solution. And it's not really hard, people. The solution is, it's just learning. I have alcoholism and drug prevention therapy for preteens. And what we do, we teach them that, hey, addictions is the thing that holds your family back. Now, when these little preteens, they start learning about addiction, by the time they get to junior high, they set. They're not drinking a whole lot of sweet drinks, and they're not even thinking about using any alcohol and drugs. They're thinking about learning the sciences and becoming successful in their life. That's what they're thinking about. And that's what I put some of my process in the back of the black and white race rationale. I have a show and tell discussion time for preteens. Have the exercise. Then we have alcoholism prevention for drug therapy, still for the preteen. We use the Monster X factor. We have somebody dress up as a monster. He comes in and he talks to the kids and tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing far as alcohol is concerned, because I'll trip you up, I'll make you this, I'll make you that. And these preteens, they get it. They can understand that when the Monster X factor comes in and shares that with them. And this is so amazing, people, the way that these preteens learn about what's happening to their fathers and mothers while they are drinking. And they can come home and educate their parents on what does alcohol do to the brain and the human brain. And just think, if you don't have any rationale and you're drinking this alcohol, the Monster X can tell you why you're not being successful, why your family is not progressing throughout the generation. Y'all still in the same predicament y'all was. Your granddaddy was in it, your grandmama was in it, your mother was in it, and you are now in it. The same predicament, trying to drink alcohol and started getting victimized by it. Then we have some for the junior high. We have things in there for the junior high. Movement brain relief session. We have them to look at each other and see who do they think is most similar, or who do they think is similar to each other. But it's just that back here in the book, you can read and you can see that if your kid was able to get these things while going to school, his brain would soon be like the white brain. He would soon have rationale just like the white people have rationale. And unless they get that, then people, they're not going to be able to compete. Their race is going to always be behind, and the slavery mentality that Willie Lynch said that you had, and that if you put his process in place, that it would be that way for 1,000 years. It's already been 300 years now, which the Willie Lynch Center has been overpowering the black and white, the black race. So I'm just saying that the black race has got to find some way to become rational like the white brain. You got to move up into your other level. And it's a third level up there, which is spiritual. But most white people don't even reach that level. But they reach the second level, and that's why they'll use it. If you would like to book a session, a counseling session, please visit organismchapter4.com. All my books are on Amazon Books. That's all I got to share, and I'm anxious to move on. Hello, neighbor. My name is Robert J. Ray. I'm a professional counseling therapist and trainer of trainers. I worked in a mental health prison for 11 years. I have fixed a lot of broken men and women in my 45 years as a counseling therapist. I was born in Maria, Mississippi, and graduated from the famous T.J. Harris High School in 1963. T.J. Harris played Brinkley and Jim Hill in football and basketball every year before that stumbling block of integration dissembled the black race. I ran for mayor of Meridian in 2021. I ran for governor of Mississippi in 2019. I'm Robert J. Ray, the man with all of the answers, every Monday at 4 p.m. Watch me on WeBelieve.com.